All right, let's get started. Let me share my screen. Mike, are you able to see my screen? Just want to make sure you're able to see my screen.
Yes, I am.
Perfect. All right. All right, perfect. Let's get started. Again, hello and welcome everyone to our webinar where we're talking about Giving Days this fall. I'm Kalyan, co-founder and CEO at Almabase. Thank you again for taking the time to be with us today. I'm sure this is a very busy time of the year. I'm very excited about this session, and I really hope we can make this very helpful to each of you. By this time, I'm sure most of you have attended Zoom webinars, but I just want to quickly run through the logistics, get that out of the way, make sure everyone understands how this works. So all of you are muted by default as attendees. Only panelists, which is myself and Mike, are unmuted. Feel free to ask questions anytime during the webinar. You don't have to hold questions till the end. To ask a question, just type it out in the chat below. We'll respond to the questions as soon as we're able to during the webinar. Once we receive a question, we'll either read out the question so everybody knows what the question was before we answer it, or if the question needs any further explanation, we'll unmute you and let you explain. Both of the slide decks, the one that I'm going to use and the one that Mike is going to use, are going to be emailed to you right after the session. So just sit back and listen in. We're also going to have a couple of live polls to help us learn from the collective knowledge of everyone that's attending today. So I strongly request you to participate and share your thoughts there. And I'm very proud to be joined by Mike Fedeli, who's the Chief Advancement Officer at Sarah High School in San Mateo, California. Mike is in his third year as Chief Advancement Officer at his alma mater. I believe he also has a couple of sons who are currently students at the school, but I'll let him share more about that. He will be sharing the story of how they organized their first ever Day of Giving in the fall of 2018. What kind of success they saw and how they're sort of improving that year over year. But before I hand it over to Mike to share their story, I see that we have people joining from all over the US, and some of you are existing customers, a lot of you aren't. So let me give you a very, very brief history of Almabase. So that's supposed to be me. I was born and raised in India, which is where I went to school. Like everybody else, I was super happy to be in college, enjoying every moment of it. But as my junior year started, I noticed that some of my classmates had to drop out because they couldn't afford the tuition anymore, right? And I was really disturbed by this. It didn't make any sense to me that they had to drop out midway. But I wasn't really sure initially if I could do anything, but then a friend of mine came up with this idea saying, hey, our college has 40,000 alumni. Why don't we reach out to them and raise some money and fund these students as like scholarships, right? So sounded like a simple enough idea, and we said, let's do it. And we started contacting our alumni, but it wasn't easy at first. I mean, we weren't like an official entity, like an official alumni association or foundation. This was India again, where the culture of alumni philanthropy wasn't really very prevalent. But we persisted, thankfully, and after months of effort, one of our alums came forward. Then she convinced a few more, and eventually we raised enough to ensure that none of our classmates dropped out that year. And even after graduation, we started working full-time jobs, and we continued raising money and sort of funded hundreds of scholarships. But through this journey is when we realized something very important, where we felt that the relationship between the alumni and their alma mater was not where it should be. We felt it was broken, right? Not just at our institution, but at most educational institutions globally. And that's why we created Almabase. We help universities and schools cultivate meaningful, lifelong relationships with their alumni. We've come a long way since then, 7 years ago now, since we started this company. And Today we're the world's most loved alumni management software, serving hundreds of institutions across more than 30 countries. A majority of them are here in the US. We work with universities and colleges, independent schools, public schools, and other kinds of nonprofits as well. A lot has changed, but what hasn't changed for us is our mission. Our mission still continues to be to help institutions make their education more accessible to everyone by driving more participation from alumni, right? So that's a brief history of Almabase. Let's now, sort of dive right into the topic for today, strategies for your giving day this fall. The question that I get asked the most regarding giving days in the fall is, why and when would an institution want to choose fall for their giving day instead of spring, right? As you would know, like a lot of giving days happen during spring. What factors need to be considered, right? But before we dive into that, I want to actually take a moment to understand where each of you stand with respect to organizing a giving day this fall. So this is a quick live poll. So just pull up your phones or use your computer, just open a browser, go to slido.com and enter the code 44555. Let me just activate the poll. You should be able to see the question on your screen. Please go ahead and just let us know whether you're organizing a giving day this fall. Just want to get a sense of where we stand, in the audience today. So the answers are no, not doing a giving day today, giving day this fall, doing it on Giving Tuesday, considering it but not really sure, yes and have been doing it for a few years, or yes and this is like the first year, right? So we're seeing a few responses coming in now. So yeah, I've got about 16 responses so far. Yeah, so it looks like several of you here are doing a giving day this fall and have been doing it for a few years or are planning to do one on Giving Tuesday. So I think we should talk a little bit about the Giving Tuesday versus sort of an independent giving day. I think that'll be an interesting aspect to talk about. There's about 38 people here, so I'll just give it a couple more seconds to see if there's more responses. Again, strongly encourage all of you to participate. This will be interesting for us to learn. Diane mentioned on chat, I'm planning a giving day in the spring. Thanks, Diane, for that. All right, it looks like there's a few of you that are not doing a giving day this fall. Some of you are considering it, but not sure. And majority of you, a third of you, have been doing giving days for a few years and do want to do another one this year. So I think the topic here is going to be very relevant for all of you that are doing a giving day this fall. Thank you for answering that. Let me move on. All right. Perfect. So as I mentioned earlier, Serra High School did their first giving day 2 years ago during the fall of 2018, and they've continued that tradition since then. I want to now hand it over to Mike at this point to walk through their journey and what has contributed to their success with giving days so far. Mike, over to you.
Thank you, Kalyan. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Let me share my screen with you guys really quickly here. Hold on one sec. Before I get started, I just want to talk a little bit. Can you guys all see that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so before I get started, I just wanted to thank Kalyan, and I want to thank the entire Almabase team. This will be our third year of Almabase hosting our Giving Day platform. They also do host our alumni platform. And what I can say about Almabase, first and foremost, is they're just really easy to work with. If we have questions, if we have concerns, we can reach out to them, we can get answers. They've even come out to school, spent a half a day with us to get our feedback on, what we thought went right and what we thought went wrong during our first Giving Day. And just a really good group to work with. So thank you. Really honored to be co-hosting this webinar today. As Kalyan said, I'm beginning my third year as Chief Advancement Officer at my alma mater, Serra High School, here in San Mateo. I spent 20 years in the media business before that. And so, I oftentimes get the question, how did you become a chief advancement officer? And the story goes back a long ways. I basically grew up on the Sarah campus as a young kid. I have an older sister who married a Padre whose parents worked here. So I was always around school. I graduated in 1988. After college, I came back and I coached baseball for a number of years. As Kalyan said, I have a son who is a senior, part of the class of 2021, and I have an 8th grader who plans to be part of the class of 2025 coming in next year. So again, a long history of an association with this great school. But how it really all started for me was my freshman year, as a new dad back at my alma mater. I really got involved, joined the Fathers Club, volunteered to do a bunch of different things, was even asked to be a parent volunteer for the annual parent pledge and reach out to other parents and make phone calls and do different things like that. And really just enjoyed immersing myself back into the Padre community. And then it was about May. I was here, I showed up early. There was a Fathers Club meeting that night, and there was a baseball game going on, a playoff baseball game. My nephew is the baseball coach here at Sarah. And, I was out there and I walked by and I saw the president of the school at the time. And I shared with them, I said, hey, I've got some ideas on how to raise money for the baseball team. Well, little did I know that my phone would start blowing up about a week later, from Sarah High School. And I'm like, who's calling me? I think my son is doing well academically. There shouldn't be any issues. But it was the president, and he said, hey, I want to talk to you about an opportunity to become, our chief advancement officer. And I didn't even know what a chief advancement officer did. So, spent a lot of time researching it. And at the end of the day, there was a lot of similarities between what I had done as a seller in media sales, what I had done as a leader in media sales, a vice president. And so we went back and forth, and the more I thought about it, the more I kind of fell in love with the opportunity to do what I'm doing today. And again, going into my 3rd year, just to get to interact with a fantastic community, get to interact with an incredible group of alumni and other constituents has just been, it's been a lot of fun, and I really enjoy what I'm doing here. So before I get into kind of the history and get into why we did our day of giving, I want to mention just quickly some members of the advancement team. So Lisa Callaghy is our annual fund director. Bob Green, who I believe is on this call, is our alumni director. Teresa Stoy is our special events manager. We also had a group of people last year that were part of the advancement team. We actually created a marketing and communications team this year, led by Amy Strain, who's our director of marketing and communications, Rosie Kirk, who's our digital marketing and communications manager, and then finally Michelle Wilkinson, who's our creative manager and web administrator. And the reason why I mention these folks is they're all critical if you're going to launch any type of Giving Day campaign. I mean, I think about it from the standpoint of, obviously this is an alumni driven event, and our alumni director is so important in that. Our special events coordinator had a huge role, which you're going to hear about in a little bit. And then, obviously the marketing of a Giving Day is so extremely important. So it really takes an entire group to put together a successful Giving Day. So moving on, Sarah history. You can see they're 75 years old. We were founded in 1944. The legacy now spans more than 75 years of excellence in Catholic education, and it includes 13,000 alumni worldwide. The school's location is in San Mateo, California. We're about halfway between San Francisco and Silicon Valley. And we really have a passion, an innovative spirit amongst this community based on our location. We welcome students of all faiths and backgrounds to bring their gifts and talents to Sarah and enrich the diversity of the school. And our tagline is Siempre Adelante, which is always forward. So some notable Sarah alumni, and I'll start here on the left. Peter Varsicchini, class of 1970, creator of Disney's High School Musical. Barry Bonds, class of 82, Major League Baseball's all-time home run leader. And then the gentleman on the right, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, Tom Brady, class of 95, 6-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots and current quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So a lot of notable alumni amongst those 13,000 people. That's just a few of them that I wanted to highlight. So let's jump in. Our first Giving Day in 2019. So again, remember, I started in August of that year. So school's about to start. I come on board. I really don't know anything about being an advancement director. And what I did know is that prior to that, Sarah held a raffle each fall that was really geared toward alumni and parents. And, you know, you started to see diminishing returns after a while. So the talk was, hey, we're really looking for a way to re-energize our constituents. And our annual fund director, Lisa Callaghy, who had been to a Partners in Mission conference in June, came back and suggested maybe we look at a 24-hour day of giving. So we thought about it. Could this replace our fall raffle? We thought, you know, it's probably a pretty good chance, but do we want to do it in the fall? We had to do some research. We had to ask some people. Again, our consultant from Partners in Mission came out here. We talked about it, and he loved the idea of targeting the fall. He loved the idea of, you know, us thinking about doing something before Thanksgiving. People are starting to get in the mode of wanting to give and be philanthropic. And the other thing was, you know, it was before the end of the calendar year, and people, you know, tend to make donations before the end of the calendar year. So if we mix those things together, we probably could be successful. And then we also wanted to do it on our own. We wanted to be separate from any other days of giving. So that's why we did it before the usual Tuesday day of giving in December. So Lisa came up with a really creative name, Thanksgiving Day. Our tagline was a proud past powering our future. We created our own Thanksgiving Day logo, but then the work really had to begin. We had 6 weeks to kind of make this thing happen without ever having done this in the past. So, you know, we consulted with Almabase. We talked about building the site. We sent out save the date postcards. We customized mailings to our constituents to let them know what we were doing. We had a banner that hung in front of school that promoted it. We had posters made that we hung up around school. But we really, you know, we needed to be able to do something creative to get that messaging out. So we talked about doing videos, and we wanted to utilize the students and the faculties and others as we asked for support on November 15th. So the plan was we would market it, we would release new videos every week and share them online and through social media. So what I'm going to share with you next, and we did have some problems with audio here, so I apologize if that's the case, but I want to share the videos anyway. So the first one is of a young man who was a basketball player here. And again, the focus in the first couple of years was we were doing different things to help on campus. We put a new basketball court in, we put a new courtyard in. So really the focus of 2018 was these projects were made available by the funds that people contribute during these special days. So take a listen to this first one. It's pretty exciting. Hopefully you'll hear it. Here we go. So that video, obviously Parker McDonald hit a game-winning shot in our biggest game of the year against our biggest rival. We utilized the excitement of that video, and then we got the boys to hold up signs that say, "Give on Thanksgiving Day." The feedback we got on that was tremendous. I mean, alumni, they loved it. They wanted to watch it over and over again. But we didn't want to stop there. We wanted to showcase all different parts of the school. And this next one, we had a new music director, and she created a Thanksgiving Day song, and this is performed by our men's chorus. So again, just tremendous creativity. These things were so well received, and our alumni really got excited about what we were trying to do. Another area of importance for us is we wanted to get the faculty and staff involved. And in talking to them, we had heard that they wanted to wear jeans on Fridays, and so we created a little incentive to get them to participate with Jean Fridays that ran through second semester. I think we had about 75% participation from the faculty and staff, which was tremendous based on previous years where faculty and staff, the number was anywhere between 40 and 50%. They really got behind it. But most importantly, we wanted to create a spirit of philanthropy amongst our students so that when they graduated from Sarah, they would continue to give back. And so what we decided was that we were going to create a opportunity for all classes to donate $10, or for each individual student to donate $10 on Thanksgiving Day here in person at school. And this is again where our special events coordinator came into play. We set up the lobby. She had donuts. We really encouraged the students to dig deep. We didn't want them to go to mom and dad to get $10. We wanted them to grab a roll of quarters or just somehow figure out a way to do that. And we saw that. I mean, people were bringing change in, they were bringing ones, and they were bringing all types of money in to participate. The other thing that was really important is that, here at Sarah, we have a thing called the brotherhood, and Padres are always there to pick each other up. And we wanted Padres to help out those who may not be able to participate. And one guy would pick up a couple of classmates and make a donation on behalf of his two classmates. So it really created this fun environment throughout the day. And most importantly is if all classes achieved 100% participation, they would receive a Thanksgiving Day holiday, which was really a holiday that we already had in play. We just renamed it a Thanksgiving Day holiday. It was a huge success. All 4 classes achieved 100% participation. And then at the end of the day, our goal in year 1 was $150,000. We had no idea whether or not we were going to be able to achieve that. We did barely. We got to 150,707, which was awesome because we were told maybe you should look at participation numbers and not put a dollar amount on there. But we pushed it a little bit and we were able to achieve our goal in year 1. So combination of a lot of things going into that first year to give us the success that we needed. Moving on to Thanksgiving Day year 2, the big question that we asked everybody is, how do we build upon the success of 2018? Could we really expect another $150,000 in 24 hours? I mean, was 2018 just luck? Did we just hit everything right? And were we going to be able to do that again? The one thing that we really wanted to do, obviously you saw that we took advantage of students on campus and teachers on campus and in the videos there, but we wanted to get alumni involved because again, this is an alumni driven appeal. So homecoming was in September, our reunions were in September, we have father-son masses, we have mother-son masses. We really wanted to utilize as much video content from those as we could. So the next one that I'm going to share with you is from our reunions and homecomings. And we utilized the classes that I attended to set up some challenges. So take a listen. So you can see we had classes that were celebrating their 40-year reunion. We had a class celebrating their 50-year reunion. The guys from the class of 60 actually celebrated their reunion off-site, which we got to attend, and we got some video from them as well. But how about the class of 1949? We had 4 guys that were celebrating their 70-year reunion that we got to do a video, and it was awesome. And again, tremendous feedback on that from all of our constituents. So the next video, we had such great success, obviously, with our men's choir the year before, and the song that was created, we had to go back and ask our music teacher to see if they could come up with something that would top that. And here's what they came up with, and it's pretty cool. So they took a song from the Red Hot Chili Peppers and they turned it into Give It Away, Thanksgiving Day. If you couldn't hear that, incredible. And so just excited to utilize these videos in a way that captured so much attention. In year 2, we wanted to get more traction from people being influencers. Again, in year 1, we knew how important that was, but we just couldn't activate it in a way that we wanted to. And we know that, again, so many Serra Padre alums are tied in with their Padre brothers in so many ways. If we could get them to become influencers, that would help in our efforts in year 2. So we created a step-by-step one sheet. I'll share that with you guys in a minute. But the biggest area of opportunity for us was getting challenges set up in advance that we could trigger throughout the day. So we put together alumni and class challenges, as you saw in the video earlier with the guys at reunions, faculty and staff challenges, total number of donor challenges, utilizing all the things that we had utilized in year 1 from a social media and you know, again, signage and all those different things. We just built upon that. And we had another success. We set the goal again at 150 because we just didn't know. And we were able to raise over $170,000 in year 2. So just a great success. Here's the one sheet. We basically took the information that's listed on the Giving Day page, which I'll share with you guys as well. It's kind of on the bottom. So we really wanted to highlight this and share this with our constituents to let them know how easy of a process it is to actually go through and become an influencer on that day. So that's the one sheet that we put together. Here's the challenges. You can see we had gifts ranging from donor 100. You had a class challenge. We had a faculty and staff challenge, which was awesome. We had a Fathers Club challenge where the Fathers Club raised $2,500 and they were going to match that. We had a decade challenge. And then we had the number 500 challenge where a donor was going to give $5,000 if we achieved 500 donors. I think our number in 2018 was in the 440 range as far as total number of donors. So we felt if we could get to 500, that would help our efforts in getting to the $150,000 or more number. And what we saw at the end was there were repeat donors. When you get close to that number, that people came on board and they wanted to help us get to that $500 or 500 donor mark so that we could, you know, achieve that challenge gift. So this was a huge success for us in year 2 and something that we will continue to implement moving forward. So Thanksgiving Day 2020, obviously there's challenges right now, the effects of the pandemic, loss of income with families and alumni. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty. The fact that we don't have students and events on campus right now to help promote, I mean, as you guys saw, the creativity that was put into those videos, the excitement on campus when you've got signage and you've got kids running around, you know, talking about Thanksgiving Day, we're missing that this year. But with that being said, there are plenty of opportunities. You know, we wanted to make sure that we could, you know, create a purpose this year. And the purpose or the theme is the year of tech, driving innovation. We've done a lot since we went to a distance learning model in March of this year. And then a lot of work has been done over the summer to upgrade technology. And a lot of work will continue to go into, driving innovation. We don't know what the classroom of the future is going to look like. We don't know how we're going to operate moving forward. I don't think anybody does, but we are going to continue to drive innovation. And that's going to be the real focus of what Thanksgiving Day looks like for us this year. The campaign kicks off next Wednesday, 10/5 with our Save the Date. We do have a larger window to promote. We've got a really creative 7-week email drip campaign that we're going to incorporate starting the following week. We'll incorporate as much video as we can. We do have some things where we're getting video from people again, and people want to be involved. And I think, a huge area for us is the alumni. They understand what this day is all about. They want to get involved. They stepped up. They volunteered. I've had a number of alumni tell me that this is the year their class is going to be the leader, as far as donations and money given. So there's a lot of excitement about what we're doing here moving forward. We have not set our target number. I will tell you it's probably going to be higher than 150. But again, based on some of the uncertainty, we'll kind of gauge that as we get a little bit closer. These are just examples of the cheer cards that we had created that you saw in the videos that we put up all around school, just to remind people and showcase them. So that's it for me. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. The next one here too is if you want to reach out to me, I put my email on there. You want to reach out to me offline and ask me any questions. I'm happy to answer any questions. The biggest thing that I'll say, the takeaway, going back to the poll, it looks like a lot of you guys are doing these fall campaigns. For those of you that are not, I would say jump in. We just did, and I'm glad we did when we did it in 2018. Again, I didn't really have any experience. It was new. We got it done. Almabase was a fantastic partner to work with, and I would just encourage you, if it's something that you're thinking about doing, you're just not sure, just take that leap and jump in. And for those of you that are doing it, I hope there's some things that you can take away from what I've shared that are going to help you enhance your fall giving days going forward. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike, for sharing your story. That was my favorite part of the story as well, how you had, sort of just 6 weeks to do it, even though that was like your first giving day, but you just went ahead and did it. So clearly your success shows us that sometimes we just have to trust ourselves and take the plunge, right?
That's right. That's right.
Let me just share my screen real quick here. All right, can you see my screen? Great. So yeah, we obviously all heard what worked for Mike. I'd love to hear from the rest of you, what has worked for you at your giving days so far, so we can all sort of learn from the collective knowledge of the group here. Let me just switch the polls. So what are some of the key elements that have helped drive success with your giving days so far? Again, the instructions are the same. If you're still on that page that you had opened a little while ago, you can sort of key in your answers. You should see this question now. If you're not, please open slido.com and enter the code 44555, or feel free to pull up your phone and just scan this code and you should see this question. Let me just see if we have answers here. There seems to be a question while let me just pull this up. I don't see any answers yet. Class challenges have worked well. That's interesting. Recruiting champions, challenges, leaderboards, peer-to-peer advocacy, personal plea videos. That's interesting. Let me scroll from here. So class leaderboards, competition among class years, peer-to-peer, peer challenges, matching gifts, champions, senior leadership involvement, and push to all university priorities, flash challenges. It's an interesting idea. Creative video ideas, personal plea videos again. Let's see if there are more here. Class challenges, ability to make a gift in honor or memory of someone, particularly a father or a grandfather. It's an interesting one. All right. That's some interesting learnings there, and hopefully this is useful for all of us, here on the webinar. We could pick a few ideas for our own Giving Day this year. So let's move on. I think I really want to, I know we've got about 10 minutes left. I want to sort of take the opportunity to sort of talk about some of the key learnings we've had. At Almabase, we're fortunate to have the opportunity to power hundreds of Giving Day campaigns from various institutions. And so we've looked into the data from all of these campaigns to analyze and understand what are the key elements that have helped some campaigns be incredibly successful. What do they do differently from the ones that aren't as successful, right? And there are really 4 key factors that we boil down to. Some of them Mike touched upon as well. Let me just talk about those. Hopefully these are useful learnings as you start to plan your Giving Day this fall or even in the spring. First and foremost, Giving Days are obviously all about participation, and it's really important for your institutions to think about, how do you want to create a healthy sense of competition among your donors to be able to drive more donations, right? A classic example of this obviously is a class leaderboard. For alumni focused fundraising campaigns, this obviously works really well. Can you get your classes to compete to see which class will give the most or will have the highest participation in terms of number of donors? We saw how Sarah High, even made that video where each class was, making a challenge. It need not just be different classes either. You can drive competition among various athletic teams, departments, chapters, or any other units really, right? You'd know what's really best for your institution. But the point is, campaigns that drive the right kind of competition among donors do really well, right? Now, leveraging every supporter's network is essential to drive more gifts. You have to communicate with your audience that they can help you not just by making a gift, but also by spreading the message further on social media, WhatsApp, text messages, etc. You have to think about how do you provide a reason for them to do so, right? Like you need to then make it easy for them to sort of share with their networks and also be able to track who influenced which gift, right? I mean, think about it. Like you will reach your audience, you will have your marketing channels, you will do your social media, you will do your email marketing, maybe you will even do your postcards, but you can never really reach 100% of your audience, right? Like you may have those lost alumni, you may have the wrong email addresses of people, or they just may not have seen your email, right? But then they see, a classmate talking about why they donated to your campaign on social media, right? And now they want to participate too, right? So the point here is, if you aren't leveraging the networks of each of your supporters, then you're leaving money on the table, right? That's point number 2. Now, point number 3 is your constituents need to understand why it's important to donate today, the day of giving. It's important that you communicate that urgency and purpose. You don't want them to think, okay, let me just make my gift later. It's all the same anyway, right? Like when someone's on your campaign page, right, on the day of giving, they need to be able to see this urgency clearly, right? Like one really good way to do this is by creating those challenge gifts where you get a pledge from donors to match other donors. Some of these ideas, again, Mike shared how they leverage these challenge gifts. It need not always actually be a dollar-to-dollar challenge either, right? Like you can say, someone will donate if we hit 1,000, if we hit 100 donors, or someone will donate $20,000 if we hit the goal for the day. You can even say, someone will match dollar to dollar for every donation during a certain hour of that day, right? You can even leverage and advertise corporate gift matching and, how that can amplify every donation, right? But what's interesting about some of my favorite sort of challenge gifts have been the ones which are non-monetary, right? Like people have even used things like recorded videos from professors that alumni want to hear from, but then unlock each of those videos when you hit a certain gift or when you hit a certain milestone during the campaign, right? Those have worked like a charm. I think that's a fantastic idea, in terms of how to leverage and create that urgency to make people donate now, right? So that's the idea. The idea is that when donors see that their donations create more impact than just their dollars, it creates a strong reason for them to donate and to do it now, right? And finally, you do all of the marketing to bring people to your page, leverage the peer-to-peer influence, bring more people in. Let's say you have a terrible sort of donation experience, right? You'll actually lose a ton of donors. You know, it sounds so obvious, but what I've seen is that this is where a lot of people go wrong. You know, I've seen many, many institutions where, you know, they just use their long sort of donation form that they sort of have throughout the year also for their Giving Day campaign, right? Like, we live in like this one-click checkout kind of age, right? You need to ensure that donations can be captured from any device in under 2 minutes, right? That's really the North Star that you should be aiming for, right? Like, you need to keep it simple. You need to provide a great donation experience for your donors. And there are many examples I've seen where, you know, donors have clicked on the link that they received on an email on the mobile phone while they're traveling, realize that it's a long form, it's a long process, thought they'll do it later, you know, when they go back home and are on their computer, but never remember it again, right? Like, you don't want to lose those kinds of donors, you know, like, while the iron is still hot, as they say, right? So those are the 4 key elements that you shouldn't miss out on: driving a healthy sense of competition, leveraging peer-to-peer influence to tap into your supporters' networks, creating reasons to give now on the day of the giving, right? And making it really easy to give wherever your donors are, whatever device they're on, right? So I hope that was helpful. That's really sort of the 4 core elements that we've observed have been consistently performing well across different campaigns. So I think those are really important. I just want to also quickly take a minute and highlight, just really show you what a Giving Day page could look like. This is obviously an Almabase example. This is Calvert Hall. This is one of their recent Giving Days. So this is their page. They could sort of, their goal was to hit 1,170 gifts. They ended up raising 1,500 gifts worth of $300,000 on the day of. What's interesting is, as people made donations, they started to show people could actually make a gift in honor of someone, share a picture, other people could react to it. So there was this real sense of engagement during the campaign. It was very, very interactive, right? And like, you know, they shared, for example, they had this interesting challenge. They said, Brother John would sort of shave his mustache if we surpass the goal of 1,170 donors, right? Which apparently he hadn't done since 1986. And they achieved that goal, and, you know, Brother John kept his word. So this is an interesting way to sort of set up a challenge gift as well. And here you could see, people sort of sharing their influence on social media and being able to track. For example, Jason here influenced 24 gifts during the day off, right? And here was sort of a class leaderboard by generosity, by the number of dollars, or by the amount of participation. These were all the different sort of challenges that were set up and were completed during the day of giving, right? So hopefully that's helpful. I see there are a couple of questions. I know we're just about on time. Let me just make sure we answer those questions.
Hey, Kalyan, can I jump in for 1 second?
Mike.
On that influencer thing, I think what we've really seen is, you know, again, we are an all boys school, 13,000 plus alumni. So it's a very competitive group. And oftentimes what you find is, once somebody becomes an influencer and they see their name pop up there, they want to continue. They want to be that leader. They want to show everybody that they influence the most dollars to come into the school. So that's a great point about, you know, the peer-to-peer and using their networks in order to influence other people. And it can be a competitive thing as well. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, that's an amazing insight. And, you know, I think we've seen that across different campaigns. Mike, so there's a question for you from Highland View Academy. Does your school have an active alumni officer board and association? If so, how many months ahead did you plan for this?
Yeah, so we do. They meet monthly. As I mentioned earlier, Bob Green, who is our alumni director, who's on this call, does a good job of getting that group together. You know, in the first year, obviously, we didn't have a lot of time to organize it, but it has been something that he has done a great job of messaging to that group. So I think they meet in August as their first meeting of the year. And I know that that's a topic of discussion to start thinking about that. And, you know, in subsequent meetings in September and October, you know, the plan goes into place. If you saw on our challenge last year, we challenged the alumni board to participate, and we use that as a challenge for other alumni to say that our alumni board will, donate $2,500 if we can get, I think it's 250 alumni to participate, which was met. So yeah, they're very involved. They know about it. It's something that, Bob does a good job of communicating with them well in advance so that they can start talking to their network and putting the plans in place for how we're going to grow the amount of alumni that we have participate in our day of giving.
Thanks, Mike. I think there's one more question, but I'll change the question slightly. So I think the question from Rachel was, how did you promote the day for weeks prior? But how did you, actually the question was, how did you I guess the question is, what sort of marketing strategies did you use on the day of giving to promote more and more, participation?
Yeah. So, when you start, in the beginning, you don't want to inundate people too quickly with emails and communication. Obviously we set a save the date. We sent out some of the different videos. We wouldn't do too many of them. We do one a week just because we did not want to inundate people. The week of, since our event is held on a Thursday, starting that Monday, the week of, they were getting daily communication. We were doing a lot of different things, social to remind them. And then obviously on the day of the event, there's stuff that's going out every hour. We're sharing the challenges. We're sharing, gifts, major gifts that have come in. We're using social media and the website in a way to really promote that day of, the urgency to give now. And so that's a big part of it. So it really ramps up that week leading into the day of giving, and then on the day of giving itself.
Right. That's great. Let's give it one more minute and see if anybody else has any other questions here. Rachel, hopefully that's answered your question. Yeah, perfect. Let's see, are there any other questions? It looks like, okay, there seems to be a question. I want to ask, is the fundraising dependent on creative ideas only, or depend on a box for collecting money only? I'm not sure I follow that, Catherine. Let me just see if I can unmute you. Hey, Catherine, do you mind unmuting and asking us that question? Sorry, I couldn't quite follow.
Okay, thank you for caring. I want to know more about fundraising. Is it it's a project you do not only depend on a box for collecting money? Is it depend on other creative ideas? I feel that is only depend on someone who wants to donate a community certain money, nothing more nor less. So it not depend on any creative ideas. So I want to know more. There's creative ideas other than box for collecting money? Is it clear?
Yeah, I think I'll take a shot at it. I mean, it's a combination of both. I think one, you'll have to make sure that the purpose of why people need to donate is communicated very clearly. That's certainly sort of the baseline. If you're not communicating the purpose very clearly, irrespective of whatever creative ideas that you have, it's not really going to be a successful campaign. So that's, in my opinion, the baseline, right? So that's number one. Number two, I think when you're saying just having a box for donation, I think you're talking about people who want to donate will donate anyway. So will these creative ideas help? I think the answer is clearly a yes. We've been, again, seeing that across hundreds of campaigns, making it easy, making it competitive, again, driving that healthy sense of competition, making sure that you're leveraging everybody's networks, making sure that people have a reason to donate today on the day of giving, etc. Right? These are all factors that definitely influence more and more giving, along with communicating the purpose. So that's my answer. I don't know if that helps, Catherine, but Mike, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, I would just add, Yeah, I would just add, Catherine, that obviously, as we've done this, this is really kind of taken on the approach that this is our fall appeal to the alumni, and alumni are going to give. We send out our annual magazine, we send out our annual report, we send out a bunch of stuff to them. Some are going to give through traditional envelopes that they send back in. This was just a way to create a sense of urgency in the fall so that we could get a better understanding of where the giving patterns lie, and then also generate more giving from alumni. Because if alumni get conditioned to think, hey, this is the day that we do it, and I can share that information with more alumni, I think it just helps grow your overall giving from your alumni base. And that's kind of the purpose behind what we do. Now,
Okay.
we do get students involved. We do get faculty involved. We encourage our parents that if they want to get involved, they can, but this is different from the annual parent pledge that we ask them for every year. So it has kind of evolved over the years to become more specific to an alumni driven campaign.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Catherine. All right. It looks like those are all the questions. Hold on. We've got one more question. So the question is from Rachel, and this is for you, Mike.
Yes.
Do you still run a traditional annual giving program, or does the Day of Giving, or do you hope it will replace this?
Say that question one more time. I'm sorry.
Do you still run a traditional annual giving program, or does the Day of Giving replace this, or do you hope it will?
Well, we do. I mean, we break it into basically, two sections. We have our fall annual plan, and then we have our spring annual plan. So this in some ways, I mean, we've done both. Last year, it was our 75th anniversary. So we ran a 75 for 75 campaign. I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to merge this into one annual fall alumni giving campaign. And then from there, it allows us to put together our plan for the spring, which we're working on already, but it really has replaced, over the first couple of years, our traditional annual fund focus, I guess is what you want to call it. So it's now more centered around this Day of Giving, where we can get people to participate on this specific day. It actually, the other thing that's great about this is it's brought a lot of alumni together. So, alumni that had not been connected to the school are now connected. They see that their peers are taking part in the 24-hour Day of Giving. And then, it's strengthened that whole alumni community, and it's giving them kind of a purpose in the fall for the annual appeal.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Mike. Rachel, hopefully that's answered your question. Let me see if there are any more questions here. All right, I guess that's all the questions that we have. I know we're a few minutes over time. Some of them had to drop off, but Mike, thanks again for taking the time and taking us through your journey. It's been a pleasure working with you. And yeah, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. And like I said, if you guys have questions, you want to email me, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks again for being a part of this. And Kalyan, thank you very much for having Sarah High School on this webinar. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, Mike. Have a good one.
Okay, everybody. Talk
Thanks,
to you guys
everyone.
later.
Bye.
Bye.